G'day there gang and welcome to my review of Inventory Manager. Diablo 4. Now I sit somewhere between the Sweatlord and your common garden variety casual gamer, so I think I can provide a pretty balanced view on this game. I haven't played Diablo 2. Many veterans of this game feel a bit like this about D4.
Salt.
Let's address this first. I did play the first installment on the original PlayStation. Shit, I've given away my age now, but I fully realise that just like any new Star Wars content won't move my nerd boner like watching A New Hope on my nan's old Rank Arena with Betamax VCR did, sequels of old Puda classics won't either. Life ordering experiences like that are hard to come by at my age, and nostalgia is often well and truly rose tinted. So if you're here for that sort of thing, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. Although I do have some issues with the game, which I will touch on. I'll try and avoid big story spoilers, but some will be touched on where they involve a game mechanic that is worth comment. Foreplay out of the way, let's get on with the good, the bad, and the ugly of this installment of one of the most popular dungeon crawling ARPGs of all time. The good. Firstly, the graphics. Bugger me does this game look good. I think it looks good on my humble system, never mind some of the 4K footage I've seen. Not just the cutscenes either. It captures the mood of Diablo, hordes of trash skellies, the bloated explodey boys, and various types of demon making an appearance for your killing pleasure. These assholes are back, unfortunately. These pricks made me Alt F4 a few times on D3, believe me. Spell effects look great, as do the characters themselves. There's enough options to make your character stand out from the crowd, and transmog is available, as is par for the course in a Blizzard title. Secondly, the story. Say what you like about Blizzard Actisoft, but they know how to tell a fucking story. Your hero is referred to as the Wanderer, saved by a mystery being, then waylaid by a town of villagers, already under the corruption of Lilith, the villain of this installment of the saga. She is summoned to Sanctuary by peoples unknown, portrayed in a fantastic cutscene at the start of the game, and boy, they didn't hold back on this one. This sets the tone for the remainder of the campaign. Early in the piece you meet Lorath, who takes the Deckard Cain role. If only you'll stay a while and listen. Oh fuck Wally, that's bad. It's also non-linear to an extent. You can complete any of the 3 acts once you complete the initial chain and reach Kyovashad, the main city and hub. However, in my experience, it's best to follow the acts in numerical order, but that's a personal preference and your mileage may vary. There's foreshadowing, grief and loss, triumph and quests that might even have questioning the NPCs and their motives. I'll say no more on this for now for risk of spoilers, but it's up there with any of the best stories told in World of Warcraft. Thirdly, what we're all here for, the general gameplay. Although the combat lacks the sheer weight of trash mob numbers that the original provided, it carries on from D3 with elite packs providing the meat of the gameplay. But to my dismay, the spinny laser things are back, along with the normal D3 staples with a few new additions thrown in. To get that frantic feel, pull a few rooms at a time, especially if you've got some gear and skill points. I've seen barbarians in particular run through dungeons like a god, but maybe other classes lack this godlike feel.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
That you get from older iterations of the game until the mid to late game. I don't mind this personally, but a couple of mates thought it didn't feel Diablo-like for this reason. Again, this is a subjective opinion based on class, build, and past experiences of the individual player. The skill trees are simple to follow for anyone who has any ARPG experience and are well structured. Paracon boards in the mid-game, however, take a bit of thought and planning. The first one is pretty self-explanatory, but get more complex from there on in. My advice here is to play through the campaign blind before you hit up max roll or icy veins. You should have more than enough resources and drops to respec if you want to min-max after then. Drops are plentiful and random as fuck. The game doesn't give out legendaries like drunk aren't giving out kisses at a family do, but there are plenty. More than plenty. This is Inventory Manager. I'm being Diablo after all. Items can be upgraded, stats re-rolled, and special abilities change. These are the game's main gold sinks, and ensure the blacksmith and the occultist in Kyovashad are the richest dudes in Sanctuary. Finally, the Butcher. This dude appears randomly, whatever dungeon you're in, whatever level you are, at whatever time of the game. He damn well feels like it. And boy, is he a badass this time around. He's not a pushover he was in D3. He's not some pseudo mini-boss halfway through an act. Here's the big deal. He cares not if you've got an elite pack pulled. He'll drop in on top of you. He'll just kick your ass anyway. What a great addition, and finally the Butcher is back where he belongs in his iconic status in the game. I've got to throw out an honourable mention to the Blizzard servers here. I've not had to wait more than 2 minutes at any time to get onto the server, even on main release day. This is absolutely unbelievable by Blizzard standards and past. Geez, I think a lot of us remember the old Mr. Pandaria at least and being locked into your stronghold and not being able to get out, but they seem to have done it properly this time. Well, in my experience anyway. Another thing that is worth mentioning, you're not locked into replaying the campaign over and over again and progress. There's plenty to do once you finish the campaign, and you can even skip the campaign when you're leveling golds. I don't think I'd advise that though, because for me, a lot of the best bosses were in the storyline, but I'll touch on that a little bit later. The bad. Bugs. Not the time you find in the cellars in the dungeons, but bugs in the game. There aren't a huge amount, but enough to be infuriating, especially in a title from a small indie developer. Huge multinational company in a full price AAA title. Quest givers take multiple clicks sometimes to respond. Sometimes they don't give you the option to talk to them at all. I just risk my life for 30 minutes in the freezing waste because you dropped something and now you ignore me? Fuck off, game. I've had dungeons bug out either in events or dungeons not firing properly, preventing progression. And in one case in a nightmare dungeon, 3 of us being ported into our own instance of the dungeon. Whenever we tried to port each other, it would just boot the player in that instance and only let one of us in at a time. Are these game breaking? No. And they could be simply fixed by a relog or a restart of the game client. This shows a lack of testing for Blizzard in my opinion to meet their 6 of the 6 launch date. Again, I'm showing my age here, but I remember console cartridges of Commodore 64 games. Sure, Commodore 64 games still sometimes had bugs, especially as most of us were sailing the 80s equivalent of the high seas. The games as a rule weren't released until they were finished and thoroughly tested. There was no interhells to patch or update games. I expect a bit more of a company Blizzard size, and I'd like to see more polished releases from them in the future. The horse. By Gaben's beard. By Inaris' left testy, the fucking horse. This parody of the majestic beast that carried knights into battle, roamed the steppes and elegantly clears jumps in the real world, comes to a stop on the smallest obstacle in Sanctuary. Once I got over how well the walk, the trot, the canter and the gallop are animated, the pathing and how the speed is calculated on the horse becomes annoying quickly. Furthermore, if you have to dismount for any reason, you're off the bloody thing for 8 to 20 seconds. Blizzard have placed barriers manned by a couple of troops at various points of the map, which the PratNav inevitably takes you through. So you have to dismount, kill 2 skellies, then walk like a fucking peasant before you can remount, likely attracting the attention of more mobs when you just want to get to the fucking dungeon. Fuck off, game. The whole thing just feels clumsy and, dare I say it, largely untested. There also seems to be a bit of a dead spot leveling and acquiring gear in the mid-game. I struggle for the mid-50s to the mid-60s, able to clear a single-digit Nightmare dungeons, but not World Tier 4. At the time of writing, you don't get extra experience or gear for doing Nightmares, but you're well and truly fully geared and need to do Tier 4 dungeons to get decent upgrades or meaningful experience. Yes, I got carried through the second capstone dungeon, but I'm sure I'm not the only one in this situation. Streamers and Sweatlords report a similar experience after level 80. Feeling punished for leveling up is not in the spirit of this sort of game. Blizzard are aware of the outcry regarding the Nightmare dungeon and have said that there will be a fix coming in the future, and hopefully the concerns of casuals and hardcore players alike will be addressed. You shouldn't balance a game around the Sweatlords, but like I said, it's pretty clear if they're complaining about something so intrinsic to the game, it will affect us all eventually. Which brings us to the ugly. Monetized early access. My god, this pisses me off. If I was Blizzard, I'd 100% do the same. But that doesn't mean it's a good thing for the player experience. Obviously, this makes Blizzard a fortune and it looks great on their KPIs, but I hate feeling, forced isn't the word, left out's more on the mark, I think. I had no intention of buying the deluxe edition until 3 guys I play with on the regular got it. I wanted to play with them and fuck, I'm glad I did. But that's another 20 Aussie dollar dues into the Blizzard coffers to play a game that we are beta testing for them live. Sure, I could have not bought it, but I didn't want to be playing through solo. As we smashed through the campaign in a couple of sweaty days that we had time to spare together and got to discuss the story and watch the cutscenes together. Well, those that didn't bug out anyway. Blizzard are fully aware there are thousands of games in the same boat as me, on top of the streamers and Sweatlords that need it or want it at the first available moment. That leaves me being a hypocrite but buying it, and Blizz with a smug face because they painted me into a corner if I wanted to play through with my buddies. Regular dungeon bosses. These guys are just crap. The same 2 or 3 cover just about every dungeon unless there is a story or class specific boss. It gets boring pretty quickly when you have fought the Khazra Abomination 3 times in 5 dungeons. It seems like these are placeholders that Blizzard couldn't be fucked replacing. But they're an indie company, so we should cut them some slack. So, what's my overall opinion? Well, if the mountain of fucking dishes I just washed, the takeaway containers I recycled, and the monster cans I just crushed are anything to go by, I bloody love it. I'm level 71 now and have a couple of low-level logs, and I'm still putting all my playtime into this game. I'm going to touch on some spoilery things now. Nothing huge, but this is a warning nonetheless. So if this is your out moment, thanks for watching and tickle the like button if you enjoyed the video. Perhaps even hit the subscribe button. Right, now that Normies have gone, I fucking love the story. Blizzard make you question if you're fighting for the right team. As evil and cruel as Lilith is, Inarius is a proper back and front, and I just wanted to stab the arsehole. Yeah, sure. We might get the beat on him later on if I'm correct, and probably the expansion. But Blizz have me looking forward to that now, so props to them for that. His minions of the Cathedral are not much better, other than the odd Renegade. Blizz drew on some 40k stuff with the Knight's Penitent, and it's done really well. I'm also enjoying working for the love child of Groot and Grief Karga from The Mandalorian. It's a really cool way to dispense dailies, or in this case 2 hourlies, and in my experience is not compulsory to progress, just as it should be. The ongoing challenge of higher tier nightmares and uber bosses are still there for my main, and my cousins who didn't get early access are there to help level up or play with. As much as I love the Diablo 1 single player experience, playing with 3 friends harkens back to the granddaddy of them all, Gauntlet. I put many hours and many 20-cent pieces into the precursor of the top-down ARPG, and even got to play it recently in the British Telecommunications Museum. Diablo 4 touches that part of my brain just on the right spot, and I really, really like this. To have the option to go alone or with 4 mates predates the single-player experience in ARPGs, and thus I don't really get the criticism from people of my vintage saying that solo was best. The game looks pretty. It sounds great. It spins a great yarn. Yeah, it's a bit buggy. Did I imagine the fucking horse? After escaping World of Warcraft and only playing through D3 a couple of times, you got me, Blizz. Again. Thanks for watching, gang. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm Waylands, but most people call me Wally, and thanks for watching.